get up out of your seat, put your hands together. We have one of the best copywriters and trainers in the world, Clayton Makepeace, here to show you how to take your copy to the next level and become that $1 million copywriter. Here he is right here, ladies and gentlemen. Keep it going for Clayton Makepeace.
Someone needs to get that man some coffee. How y'all doing? You learning a lot? So I'm just curious, how many dedicated copywriters do we have here? It's your full-time job. All right, good number. How many of you write part-time as part of your business? Good. Well, I hope this will be helpful to you. I've always loved writing. And, okay, I can see it if I stand up. I've always loved writing. But after nearly 50 years of doing it, it kind of wears thin a little bit. And about this time last year, I was with Weiss Research. I'd been there 20 years. And some days I felt like I knew what Hemingway meant when he said this: I like it at a war. Every day and every night, there's a strong possibility that you'll get killed and not have to write. But he was also addicted to writing copy. And he said it was an obsession. And that's the way it is for me. So I changed clients a year ago. It was a huge challenge, going from Weiss Research, where a small pond where I was the big fish, to Money Map Press, where I get to work with people like Mike Ward, Jed Canty. Bill Bonner once told me that Jed has made more money for Agora in less time than any other copywriter they've ever had. And to work with him every day is just amazing. Working with Henry Bingaman, formerly Jed's protege, but now on his own, one of the best copywriters in the business. And the other people there, it's a humbling experience. You have to have your best game on every single day. And of course, their approach to writing copy is a little different from mine. It evolved the Agora way in a completely different universe than my understanding of copywriting. So at the same time I've been working, I've been learning a lot. I've been learning a whole new way to look at copy, a whole new way to write, and a whole new way to plan promotions. And now, all of a sudden, writing is fun again for me. This has opened up a whole new area of creativity and a whole new type of promotions that we can write. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And I think I'm writing the best copy of my life right now as a result. Now, in addition, I also copy chief many freelancers. And most of them are advanced. To get an assignment from Money Map, you've got to have something going on. They take in younger writers too, but more on a training thing. I'm working with freelancers. And again, these are fairly advanced people. And I give a lot of crits. And we're going to go over the 21 things that we're going to talk about today are the crits that I'm giving most often now to the copywriters that are working for me. And again, because they're advanced, I'm hoping, and many of you are advanced. I got to talk to you during the break. So I'm hoping that this will really be helpful. There are a couple of slides here that just those slides by themselves will take your writing up to a whole new level. They've done it for me, and I know they'll do it for you too. So let's take a look at some of the things that I've been learning and that I see quite often in my copywriter's copy. One of the first things that happens when a copywriter sits down is he has to decide what kind of promotion he's going to write. Is it a typical problem-solution promotion? Or is it a storytelling promotion? Now, 90% or more of the promotions you see from Agora are storytelling promotions. Typically, a problem-solution promotion will be something where the problem is well understood and the solution is uncommon. Okay, so think about a health promotion. Maybe it's on arthritis, okay? The problem's well understood, In fact, the person you're talking to probably has it. He understands it very, very well. But you're going to him with an uncommon solution. So you don't have to romance the problem. You don't have to tease it. You don't have to kind of hide it for a while and tell stories about it. You can go to him directly with as simply as, the miracle inside this jellyfish can cure your arthritis. So that is not the kind of copy we write a lot of, although there are some uses for it we can talk about later. Storytelling is really where Agora got his stripes. It's what I've been doing most of my life. These are promotions where the situation is not well understood, and the solution is rather common, just the opposite. For example, when you talk about a promotion on cobalt, for example. Cobalt supplies are running thin. It's required to make batteries. And so there could be a crisis there where the cobalt prices go up, opportunity to make money, okay? Well, see, that's something your prospect probably doesn't know anything about. He doesn't wake up in the morning wondering how cobalt supply and demand dynamics are working, right? So you're going to him with a whole new story. So the opportunity or the problem is not well understood. The solution is going to be buy a stock. That kind of solution is out there all the time. That's not surprising at all. And so you need to look at the type of copy you're writing for the promotion that you're doing. I want to cover selecting a theme. Now, a lot of you guys don't write in the same. How many of you write in the financial area? Investment newsletters. Wow, a lot of you. Okay. All right, so if you're writing for financial newsletters or any other kind of financial subscription service, you are typically going to have a theme of some kind. Like I just mentioned, cobalt, that would be a theme. You can think of a million others. I'm having trouble with it right now. But all of the promotions you see coming out of Agora have a theme. They don't go right in and say, hey, buy this stock, right? It'll be a situation, an opportunity, something you didn't know about. And so selecting that theme is critical. It's probably the most critical thing in the preparation to write a promotion. Because if you get a theme that doesn't resonate with the prospect, you're dead in the water, right? So let's just go over some of the qualifications or qualities of a great theme. It needs to be unique and newsy. A discovery or forecast that other people aren't out there with. There have been a couple of exceptions to this rule lately, simply because marijuana stocks and blockchain, Bitcoin were so hot that a lot of people jumped into that pool for a period of time. But most of the time, you want a theme that is not being covered by other people. Or it could be a unique twist. Like, for example, if you wanted to do something on Bitcoin and everyone else was talking about how much money you could make, a promotion about the Bitcoin scam might get a lot of attention, taking the opposite direction on it. The theme should have a direct impact on the prospect. The situation will directly affect him in some way, either in terms of giving him opportunity or it's some kind of a challenge. And here I'm talking finances, but of course this is also true if you're talking about health or some other area. The theme should be easy to understand. I don't want to see a theme where you have to take 2 or 3 steps to see that this is relevant or that it's important or that it can make me money. I want to see something that's so simple that the minute I reveal what the thing is, they get it. Okay? So, urgency. The situation needs to be either already begun, like right now, rising oil prices. Oil prices have almost tripled over the last 2 years. Okay? That has already begun. So you don't have to make a forecast. It's a promotion not based on, hey, trust me, this is going to happen someday, and if and when it does, you'll make money. This is something that's happening now. The other way to go, of course, is the theme could be about something that's about to happen, but there's a key trigger date. There's a date at which your Social Security benefits are going to lapse, or there's a date at which the stock market's going to crash, or some other major event's going to occur. We have one on pension crisis, a key date when the pension crisis is going critical mass. when the first major pension funds are going to collapse. So trigger dates are gold. If you don't have a crisis that's already going, or even if you do, maybe like rising oil prices right now, you could say, okay, well, they've already tripled, but on such and such a date, something's going to happen, and it's going to cause oil prices to triple again in a very short period of time. Legs. I have copywriters come to me all the time with something that's going to happen in about 30 days. Well, it's going to take you 60 days to write the promo. These are seasoned veterans, and they're doing this, okay? So, it's okay if you've done it too. But yeah, it's got to be something. I like to see something that's going to be with me a year at the absolute minimum, a situation that's going to be unfolding over the next year. There can be key dates in the meantime. That's cool. That'd be great. But I know my promotion will work for that longer period of time. I've also had copywriters come to me and propose that we do a promotion on the end of the world. Well, what stock do I buy then? The stock market is a smoldering ruin. It's a crater on Wall Street, and I'm supposed to buy a stock? So, it has to be addressable. It's got to be something that the client or the prospect can actually do something about. And the solutions should be surprising. And we'll talk more about that in a minute, okay? But you want to avoid, and we have a slide called same old, same old. You want to avoid giving the impression that this is the same old solution everyone else is talking about. Like, for example, if you have a stock market crash package, maybe your solution is to buy gold. Well, boy, is that ever boring. Who doesn't know that? Why do they need to give you money so you can tell them to do something that they already know to do, right? So, a proven opportunity. Now there are 2 bullets here on this, really. Proven opportunity. This is something that is already making money for people right now in the marketplace. They're already taking advantage of this. Or it can be something that has happened before. Like the last time oil prices shot up in 73 and 74, and then again later in that decade, there were certain things that happened. How much did the big oil company stocks go up? How much did the juniors go up? How much did upstream, midstream, and downstream companies profit? Okay? So there's something there that the prospect has experienced before that lends credibility to what you're saying. Market awareness is optional, but helpful. I remember back in the 80s, clients would come to me all the time and they would say, hey, I want you to do a promotion on the graying of the baby boomers, right? Well, in the 80s, it was going to be 20 years before that had a major impact on the economy. But it was like in the news, and so they wanted me to write on it. And I would always refuse. I'd said, no, because the solution, the problem is so far off that buying the stock now or taking the solution now is just a total waste of time. And I was right. Nobody ever really had a big promo on that. Okay, I recently had a situation where in finance, the editor typically gives you the solution. He'll say, okay, this is a stock I recommend for this particular situation. So they brought me this investment, and they said, this is what we want to recommend. Okay. So I write the whole promotion, and I get down to the point where I'm writing the teaser copy about the premium and about this solution, right? And I get halfway through the annual report, and there's one line in there that says that this company is going to cease to exist in 2020, right? And nobody else had found that. So, if I had read that report before I went out and did the whole promotion, did all that work, I would have known to go back to them and say, this solution is not going to work. Give me another investment. So I think once you have your theme and you're beginning your research, one of the first things that I do now is I'll go and I'll do the research on that solution. I'll know that company as well as the CEO does by the time I'm through. We'll talk more about that in a minute too. But I think that's really the key. You've got to go through all of the research on that thing and make sure that the solution is valid. Otherwise, because that's going to affect how you write your headline, your lead, your traffic drivers, everything else that you do on the promotion. Then you identify the best solutions. If you get involved, if you're able to help with this process, which I sometimes am, of selecting the solution for the promo. Sometimes we have that freedom. You'll pick 3 or 4 maybe. And so which one do you really feature in the premium copy? Well, I'd like my main solution to be the most effective, right? I want to be able to say, you're going to make 500% of your money or 300%, you know, and give a really positive forecast of how much this could make you. But also it needs to be interesting. A lot of what we do is entertainment. And so it's got to be entertaining, it's got to be interesting, it's got to be intriguing. It's got to leave the prospect, most importantly, wanting to know more about that company, because the only way he can do that is by buying the product and getting the free report, right? And when you can find one that's both, or when you find a solution that is going to be very profitable or very helpful, if you can find a way to also make it intriguing, interesting, you're way ahead of the game. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, so you've selected your theme. And let's say your theme is going to be rising cobalt prices. The next question is, how do I sell that? In other words, you're not going to go out with a promotion, the headline says, hey, cobalt's going up, buy the stock. How do you get into the conversation? What's the conceit? How do you present this in a way that intrigues your prospect? And I have a few examples here to show you what I'm talking about. They came to me and said, let's do a promo on the Aramco sale. For a long time there, Saudi Arabia was contemplating selling off a 5% stake in their oil company. So, what's the way in? Do you want to just go in and say, hey, they're selling Aramco, here's how to make money? Well, we decided to take the tack of the most interesting man in the world. Turns out that Aramco was being sold because Crown Prince Mohammed in Saudi Arabia has a plan for modernizing his nation that's going to cost $1.5 trillion, and he needs to raise every penny he can to do that. Plus, he had just bought $500 billion worth of weapons from President Trump. He had to pay for that. And plus, on top of all of that, when they drove oil prices down in 2014 and 16, Saudi Arabia went broke. It's not something that everyone knows, but they couldn't even pay their foreign workers. So there was a real story there, and it turns out this guy lives in a $300 million house at Versailles. He's got a $600 million yacht. He paid $400 million for a portrait of Christ. This is a guy that's liberalizing a lot of their laws right now, and he's going to be the next king. So there was a fascinating story there that we could wrap around the Aramco sale. This wasn't mine, this was Jed's, but profiting from real estate investment trusts. What could be more boring? A real estate investment trust, right? And so what Jed came up with was this one REIT invests in properties that are rented to the government, to the federal government. If you're going to have a landlord, the federal government's a pretty good landlord to have. You know they're going to pay their bills. And so he turned the promotion into how to collect government rent checks. Okay? Fascinating way to get into the subject. And then cycles investing. We had, this is before I came to Money Map, we had a promotion about following long-term and shorter-term cycles to time your investments. And there was this story there, if you don't know, is there was a guy named Nikolai Kondratiev in the old Soviet Union who did a study of cycles in a capitalist society. And he came to the conclusion that communism would fail because it didn't have that cleansing cycle that capitalism has, where it builds up debt and then it washes out in a recession. And then the economy grows and builds up more debt and washes that out, okay? So the thing is, he was executed for that. So instead of starting with how to invest with cycles, we started out with, it was a cold gray dawn on September whatever, when they marched a small bespectacled man out of his cell, stood him up against a wall. And it told the story of the execution of Nikolai Kondratiev. And his crime was that he had told Stalin something Stalin didn't want to hear, that cycles drive the economy. And that was the way into that piece. So once you have your theme, your next question is, what is the way in? How do I sell this theme in a way that makes it intriguing and something that somebody will want to read or watch? I see this all the time too. Never, in fact, I just dealt with it with a fairly senior writer. Avoid references to free reports, discounts, time limits for ordering in the first 5 pages at least, longer if you can avoid it. You know, people tune out as soon as they know it's a promotion. As soon as you confirm it. They may suspect it, but the minute you confirm it, and the last place you want them tuning out is in the first, page or two. So avoid that kind of stuff until you get down to the presentation of the product. And it doesn't matter how good a deal the product is, how big the discount is, or any of that other stuff. If nobody's watching the video, they're not going to buy. So put that stuff off. Avoid it. It's a trap. This is a fun one. This is from Mike Ward, by the way, who is an absolute genius. I tend to be a writer who would try to get greed in every lead. I would have to have something up there about the fact that this is an opportunity, that this could make you wealthy, something in the lead that sends a message that this is about investing, sometimes even that this is about a stock, and be specific about the type of investment it is. And Mike has shown me that, if your story is riveting enough, they'll watch your VSL, even though there's no real self-interest beyond the entertainment value of what you're showing them. And Mike, and there's so much I can't talk about. I'd love to be able to tell you, but stuff that's in progress, but being processed right now. But watch the opening scenes of Saving Private Ryan. Steven Spielberg sits there. I can see him in his office saying, "You know what we're going to do? We're going to grab them by the eyeballs on the very first second of that video, of that film, and we're going to hold them for 5 minutes. Just nonstop action, nonstop horror, nonstop for 5 minutes." And he probably got the script back and he goes, "Okay, that's good. Now let's do it for 10 minutes. Now let's do it for 20 minutes. And you watch the first part of that. You don't know who Private Ryan is. You don't know who Tom Hanks is. You don't know who any of these guys are. All you know is you're watching the most horrific battle footage you have ever seen in your life. And it's so realistic. You're watching, it's like you were there, okay? So, you're 20 minutes into this thing before there's any character development at all. You watch The Matrix, it's kind of similar. It starts out with, what was her name? Trinity. Another nerd. Trinity. And she's being chased, And it's a breathtaking action, right? We're moving to a place right now in video sales letters where the more entertaining ones are actually going to be the more successful. And that doesn't mean entertaining to no purpose, but if you can entertain at the same time you're introducing your subject, I think you're way ahead of the game. So profit promises, remember we just said, avoid any references or indication that this is a promotion up front. Well, people have seen enough video sales letters and seen enough HTML sales pages now that the minute you start talking up front about profits, they're hip to the fact that this is a promotion. So if there are other ways in that allow you to get the person's attention, get them committed to watching this, then you've got them. And the way Mike said it, I thought was beautiful. He said, make your prospect lose himself in those first few minutes. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know that the phone's ringing. He's so riveted by what you're showing him. And there's a promo I'm working on right now that I wish this meeting was like 2 months down the road so we could talk about it, but that does exactly that. And it is so powerful. It's a great technique. I would urge you to try it. Avoid same old, same old. This is another thing that we do a lot in the financial markets, especially right now. But you can do it anywhere with any kind of product. People don't want stocks. They don't care about stocks. Stocks are boring. They've been seeing promotions on stocks forever. And all of these other investments too. So instead of talking about a medical stock, you can say it's a play on a new type of heart. Okay, or whatever the thing is. But you get away from the idea of a stock. It's not a three-time leveraged ETF. It's a special holding company that pays you $3 for every $1 other investors make. It's not an oil master limited partnership. It's an endless stream of oil royalties. It's not a real estate REIT. We just talked about this. Jed Candy's great idea. You're collecting rent checks from the United States government. And I threw one in here for health riders. But you can do, just to show you can do this in any niche, okay? It's not a supplement. You know, don't say miracle supplement does this, right? This is a miracle discovered inside this jellyfish that does blah, 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 right? Whatever it does. So disguise the mechanism to avoid looking like a me too, like this is just another stock promotion, just another mutual fund promotion. I have a bad memory about this, but I think it was Jed did a promotion on a mutual fund, and they discovered that the law, or the section of the law authorizing mutual funds was called 29F, I think it was. And so they called it a 29F program rather than saying mutual fund, which would have just turned people, oh, mutual funds, right? So be creative with how you position what it is that makes your product work. Eliminate abstractions. This is another Mike Ward tip. Nobody ever gets shot with a gun. I tell you what, you take this to heart and your writing will instantly go up an entire level. I see so many promotions where writers will come in and they'll say, they think they're being dramatic, and they'll say, there's a major crisis headed this way. It's going to impact Wall Street. It's going to hit Washington, D.C. It's going to leave your local bank a smoking ruin. It's going to do, that's just, all of those are just abstractions. There is nothing there of substance, right? It's just air. But if you go in with facts from the very beginning, it gets you off to so much a faster start, okay? But Mike makes the point, no one ever got shot with a gun, right? You got shot with a pistol. You can take it up a level, right, for each one of these things. And this is all about specificity. It's another way of saying it. Avoid abstractions, be specific, right? Not a gun, it's a pistol. It's not just a pistol, it's a 1911 Colt .45 automatic, semi-automatic. It's a nickel-plated 1911 Colt. You see how you can add detail that makes the image more vivid. And what this does is two things. First of all, it's going to force you in the research to come up with facts, tangible facts about whatever the situation is that you're writing about that will make it live and breathe. And it's going to be more interesting and more entertaining to your prospect, so he'll stay with you. He'll make the commitment to be with you, for this entire thing. You don't just do this at the beginning, you do it all the way through, and we'll look at a couple more examples of that in a minute. In fact, we'll do it right now, it looks like. Okay, so here's some examples. First one, your first royalty check will arrive soon. Okay? Abstractions. So what does soon mean, right? Your first royalties can be on their way to you in 5 minutes or less with just 3 clicks of your mouse. Okay? Now, remember what you're doing here with each of these paragraphs, even if you can take it up one level, just by adding one fact, one more vivid word choice, you're way ahead of the game. So when you're doing your editing passes, you go through and you say, what can I do here to make this more vivid? Don't have to totally load it up, just one level. If you do that with every paragraph in your copy, you've taken it just to the moon. Next example, it's a breaking news story the intelligence community and Pentagon are working on now. In my promotion, it says, it's the breaking news story that my colleagues at the CIA, NSA, and Joint Chiefs of Staff are working overtime on right now, burning the midnight oil at Langley, Fort Meade, and Pentagon City. Can you see how that makes it live and breathe, makes it real, makes it three-dimensional? This is another one from a promotion I did recently that I'm still working on, actually. The U.S. Navy guards the Straits of Hormuz. It's talking about how Iran has threatened to shut down the strait. President Trump has ordered the alternative. President Trump has ordered the Vice President Scott A. Sterney, commander of the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet, to keep the Strait of Hormuz open at all costs. He has 2 aircraft carriers, 20 ships, 103 strike aircraft, and 20,000 sailors and Marines ready to obey that order. Oh, and by the way, if that's not enough, he's also armed with over 2,000 tactical and strategic warheads. Okay? So I think you get it. All right, so I'm a big Beatles fan, so yeah. So one of the biographies of Paul McCartney I read talked about how when they first started out, they had no idea how to put a show together. And Paul realized after several gigs that what you do is you come on strong at the beginning, then you change the pace, and you build to a crescendo, and then you change the pace again. And you always begin and end on a high note. It's the same thing with the emotional tone of your copy. If you do that, you're going to be way ahead of the game. In other words, that first vertical line, you start high note, okay? Exciting, out of the gate fast, right? Paint a picture. Get your prospect involved, engaged, hooked, right? Then as soon as you've got him, you can calm down and you can say, now let's talk about this. Let me show you something, okay? And then that begins a process of making the situation bigger, more important, more profitable, or whatever, right? And we'll talk about some of the other ways to do this. But at the very beginning, to make it more and more important, right? Until you've gotten to the point where it's like the most important thing in this guy's life right now. And it's like, but wait, there's more. Remember that from Ron Popeil? He used to always do that. But wait, there's more. And he would build and build and build on the offer, right? That's what you're doing here. You're building on the story, building on the story. You do it later in the piece when you're building on the offer. Not only do you get this, you get that. Not only do you get that, you get this. Not only that, the price has been cut to this. Not only that, there's this guarantee, right? Not only that, if you respond immediately, you also get this. Build, 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 okay? But then there has to be a release of tension. One of my favorite lines is, now, can I level with you for a moment? No, that's the copy. Where you build to that fever pitch and you say, now, I need to level with you on something, okay? And you bring it back down. And then you start building again, building again, building again. And so that is the emotional curve that your promotion should follow. And if you work on doing that, and I say should follow, okay? If they follow that, I think you'll find they're far more effective. I had this happen the other day. A junior, this was a junior, he did this promotion, and it was on Cobalt. It was the one I was talking about earlier. And he got to the point where he needed to introduce. Well, first of all, when do you introduce your editor? When do you credentialize the spokesperson in your copy? When does that happen? Well, a lot of guys and gals will just say, well, this thing is going to happen, and it's going to be big, and, trust me. And then they say, my name is such and such, and then they present their credentials, right? But try this. Try that, remember that emotional curve? Try building on the story to the point where the prospect is going, no freaking way. This can't be real. This can't really be happening. This is just, beyond the pale. Then that's the moment you bring in your prospect, your spokesperson. That's the moment you come in and you say, well, my name is Dr. Kent Moores, and I've been with the CIA for 40 years, and I'm their #1 energy consultant, and I've got 3 presidential commendations and 23 commendations from the CIA for my work, and this is what I do for a living, and next month I'm going to be over in Singapore talking to the largest gathering of billionaires in the world. They're going to ask me where oil prices are headed, right? So that's where you bring in your credentials for your expert, where the prospect is just going, this is just too big, I can't believe it all. That's the moment you hit them with, yeah, but I know what I'm doing. Okay? The other part of it is, and this is what the junior did, his promotion was on Cobalt, which is a key component of batteries. And so, he gets to the point where he introduces the editor, and the editors, and he tells it was the same guy, it was this Kent Moores. And he gets to the point where he goes, well, I'm this big expert on oil and everything, but the promo isn't about oil. The promo is about Cobalt. But he sleepwalked all the way through the bio. He didn't think, how do I connect the biography or the credentializing of the editor with the subject at hand? Okay? Well, it turns out, batteries are energy storage devices, and it wasn't that hard to simply change the word oil to energy in Kent's bio. He's the #1 consultant on energy independence for the United States government. So now all of a sudden, it works. It works with the theme that we had. So make sure that when you're credentializing your spokesperson, it's in a way that gives credence to the subject at hand. It seems obvious, but these are mistakes that I'm seeing all the time. This is another good one. Don't just tell me, show me. Okay, back in the day, and I've taught this, because it is a good way to write. Tell me what you're going to tell me. Then tell me what you told me. Now, that's a nice little formula for writing. But now, the way the internet's going, and with the requirement to be entertaining and to capture your prospect emotionally, it's not working as well. If you just stand up there and blah, 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 blah about supply and demand on Cobalt, people's eyes are going to roll up in their heads and they're going to click away. Okay? Instead, show me something. Find a way to demonstrate what's really going on here. And then explain what I just saw and what it means to me, how it applies to my life, how it applies to my investing. I put this rule of thumb in here. I really believe this. All other things being equal, the more entertaining VSLs are going to be the biggest winners. All other things being equal, okay? If you can entertain the prospect while you're educating him, while you're showing him why this is a fantastic opportunity for him, then you've got him, okay? And you'll get a much better response than the writer who just basically presents facts. Now, this is the opening that a junior of mine wrote, and this kind of thing has been done before, but I kind of like the way he did this, okay? This was on the Cobalt promotion I just mentioned. It says, this is a copy. He says, now I do not recommend that you try this at home, but, and a big old hammer comes down on a cell phone, on an iPhone, several times. And you're looking for sound effect, you're looking for glass flying, and the guy who's doing this has goggles on and gloves, rubber gloves, right? And he's just beating the hell out of his cell phone, right? Break any iPhone open and you'll see something fascinating. And he sifts through the broken pieces and pulls up the battery, which is a foil pack that kind of folds out, okay? This phone is powered by a 2,716 milliamp hour lithium ion polymer battery. Again, specifics, right? Specifics. Inside this battery, you'll find a pouch, a foil pouch containing layers of lithium, nickel, and graphite. Okay? Normally, you'd never mix these things together because there'd be a dangerous chemical reaction. The beaker catches fire at this point. He says, or worse, and the damn thing explodes, right? But lithium, nickel, and graphite live in perfect harmony inside this battery thanks to one key element. The thing is, the world's running out of it, so prices are soaring, okay? So you can see, he showed the situation. You can't have iPhones without this element, which he doesn't tell you what it is for a little while. You can't have iPhones without it. You can't have Teslas. You can't have any of the things that run on batteries without this element. The world's running out. And not only that, there's only one company that's a pure play in this one element. So I thought that was really good, especially for a junior. By the way, that was the first package this guy ever wrote. Okay, so get ridiculous with your dimensionalizing, okay? Get ridiculous. You can always edit later. Overwrite. And then when you come back for later reads where you're doing it for pacing and timing and other things, then you can decide, well, I could shorten a little bit here, but override. Okay, so this is a way of over-dimensionalizing, okay? A 457% profit is enough to turn every 10,000 you invested into 55,000. It's like getting, okay, that's your first dimensionalization there, right? Turning 10,000 into 55,000, that's one, okay? Now we're gonna do it again. That's like getting a deal of a lifetime on a new C-Class Mercedes convertible. Your cost, just your initial $10,000 investment. Number two. Or you could turn 25,000 into 139,000, enough to pay cash for the retirement condo you've been eyeing on that quiet Florida beach. 3. Or you could turn 50,000 into 278,000. That's nearly 6 times the average American retiree's annual income. Right? Wow. Now that most writers will stop at 457%. They'll think they've done their job because they threw out a big number, okay? And it's more than enough to put your favorite grandkid through a top-notch private college debt-free. So now you may go back later and shorten this a little bit. They feel it is overkill, but you've got it in your draft. And you've made that 475% or 57% profit tangible and real. And you've turned it, people don't go to the store and spend percentage points to buy a loaf of bread. You know, turned it into dollars, and then you turned it into the things that those dollars are good for. Mike loves to, and I'm talking a lot about Mike because we're talking about things that I've learned or relearned this year. And I've always talked about emotional copywriting, about feeling your way through the copy. Mike has another way of saying it, and his way of saying it is have a Geiger counter, an imaginary Geiger counter by your side, and feel when it starts ticking faster and feel when it starts slowing down. You can feel that as the copy involves you more, begins moving faster, gets you more intrigued, more interested. Right? So have that Geiger counter and read through your copy. And only when you get to the point where you know your prospect has reached the conclusion that if this guy doesn't tell me how to take advantage of this thing, I'm going to write some hate mail here. You know, if this guy doesn't tell me, I'm so engaged right now that there damn well better be a product. He's ready to write a hot check. Then and only then do you introduce the product. Have him so sold that you don't have to sell him the product itself. He's so sold on the opportunity or the benefit that he's ready to buy. Then and only then you mention the product. Then this is, I'm drawing a blank on the guy that does this. But he's got a self-help courses. And he will do this. He'll get you to this point where you are absolutely positively going to invest in this trend, in this thing that's happening. And then he says, now if you're going to need this, if you're going to do this, you'll probably need this. You'll need to know the name of the stock, and you'll need to know how much you should pay, and you should also know how long you should hold on to it, what your profit target is, and you should know all of these. And then you'll also want to know about 3 other stocks that are looking every bit as good, but in different ways, and then tease those and say, and then you should probably also know about this ETF or this mutual fund or this master limited partnership or this option, and he'll just keep going. You should probably know all of that. And then he says, and the good news is I've done all that research for you, and it's in this library that I have, and I want you to have it for free. You know how natural that is? You don't have to make this big transition to the premiums. It should be seamless. You should wonder, how in the hell did I get here? We were just talking about Cobalt, and now I've got this library sitting here in front of me that I can get for nothing. It's just a wonderful way to do it, I think. And it's seductive, which is what I like about it. They don't see you coming. Another senior writer just did this to me. I had to go through his promotion. He kept putting things in there like, and the sooner you take action, the bigger your profits will be. But if you want to make the most out of this historic opportunity, you need to take action now. All of these salesman-y phrases, you know how you want to bitch slap a used car salesman? When he uses this kind of crap on, there was another couple in here just an hour ago looking at this car, yeah, right, So, respect your prospect's intelligence. Don't tell him what to do. Make him want to do it so bad that he's going to write a complaint letter, if you don't offer him a way to do it. And so, avoid this kind of stuff. It cheapens everything you do. Okay, I'm going to go through some more things here fairly quickly because we're running out of time. When I read other people's copy, and I've been this way my life, I hate reading other people's copy. Because, especially when it's good, Because, you're looking at something that may have taken him 3 months to write, and you're experiencing it in a moment. And so your thought is, I am not this smart. I couldn't ever write this. This is amazing. This guy's a freaking genius, And you get caught up in the copy. And you just get caught up in the story. And now you're not even thinking about the guy that wrote it. You're thinking about the story itself. Somehow you got to find the discipline to read like a writer and say, what is he doing here? What is a thought behind this transition? What is a thought behind this crescendo that he's building? What is his strategy? How is he leading me through this? So read it like a writer, not like a prospect, okay? Read it like a writer. Analyze what's going on in that other guy's mind. That's the way you get inside Jed Candy's head, which is a scary place to be, by the way. But the guy is an absolute genius. Read your own copy like your worst critic, Read a sentence and then just yell bullshit. Go through that copy and just tear it limb from limb. Now, most of us, when we read our own copy, we just kind of, this is pretty good, you know. I'm going through this, pretty good copy, you know. I'm pretty smart, you know, this is great. The client's going to just be really excited when he sees this copy. That's wrong, man. Look for problems. Look through it. What doesn't make sense? Where does the logic fall apart? Okay, where does it get boring? And you know, this isn't new, but Dan Rosenthal walks up to total strangers on the street, has them read his copy, you know? And Dan, if you've ever seen him, it's an afro. He's a Jewish guy, but he's got this afro and Coke bottle glasses that make his eyes look this big. And he'll run right up to people and give them this copy, you know? And how do you say no? And so they'll read it, and he'll watch their reaction. Well, where am I losing them? Where are they getting excited? My thing is with Wendy, you know, I give her a piece of copy, and she tries to be sweet to me. You know, oh, this is great, genius, wonderful. But if she asks me, how can I invest in this? I know I got her, right? So have other people read your copy. That will help. And they're more likely to be your worst critic than you are. We already talked about, but study Hollywood movies. Those people are past masters about how to hook an audience, how to get somebody to sit still for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, and watch this story. And they've learned it over many decades of trial and error. And all of that research is available to you every time you watch a top Hollywood movie. Have any of you heard of the Pixar story arc? Yeah, several of you have. You can Google it online. But this is another way, it's the way Pixar tells its stories, right? Once upon a time, every day, this guy does something, okay? But one day, something unusual happened. Now think about how that would work with a financial package, right? It could be really strong. And you know, the thing is, it's transparent. Once you start hanging facts on it and make it about something real, then it's, you know, it doesn't sound like a Pixar movie, you know? But try it. You can look it up. There's actually 21 rules that Pixar has, if I remember right. So, okay. If you want to write great copy, do great research. This, to me, is the quality of your copy will never, never exceed the quality of your research. It will not happen. And when I say that, I mean when you Google something, read every single page of results you get. Because you might find something on the 30th page or 20th page that makes your whole promotion. Google everything. Look, you know, I had to Google the Fifth Fleet. And I had to call a CIA agent to find out if they had nukes, which they don't. I had to take that line out. The quality of the research is everything. Now, I've been a big proponent for years of having other people do your research. And I still think in some cases that's very helpful, especially if you don't have a Bloomberg terminal, somebody else does, you know, somebody else has LexisNexis, somebody else is, you know, better qualified researcher. So there are certain things that you'll want other people to do research on for you. But what makes a great promotion is when you get in there. Because if you're doing the research, you're going to see one little factoid here, and that's going to lead to a whole other chain of research that no researcher would know that. It takes a copywriter to see that and to say, wow, there's gold there. I just got to dig it out. Henry Bingaman, too, this is a little tip I just love. It's worked great for me over the last package I wrote. He said, Google what you hope will be online, right? So I wanted to Google how much, how long, what was it? How much Russia's financial crisis they just had cost the government, you know? And so I just asked that question. I didn't go in and I didn't look at Russian financial crisis. I didn't read the wiki article on it. Didn't do any of that. I just asked a specific question that I needed answered, and son of a gun, it just popped right up. Doesn't always happen, but it's great. But that's no extra charge. That's from Henry. Assume you're writing to the smartest, most skeptical person you know. We talked a little bit about that. But have an avatar, okay? Have an avatar and let them be somebody that you know you couldn't bullshit if they held a gun to your head. Somebody, you know, like my wife, you know. Could be somebody very close to you. Somebody that will see through any thin argument that you have. That'll make your copy a lot better. And then finally, this covers a lot of the points we just made, but have the joy of discovery on every page. We're talking about not only this but that, not only that but this. All of those things, what we're talking about is facts that your prospect doesn't know that somehow bring him closer to buying the product, but at the same time fascinate him. And any subject you write about, you can find those things. If you're doing guitar lessons, I told a friend I sucked at guitar for 50 years, so I've taken up drums now. I'll have something else to suck at. So I signed up at this drum site, Drumeo. You know, these people, the people that do guitar lessons online and drum lessons and that, they're geniuses. They get this. I think they attend these conferences. I know they do. I met some of them because they know how to do this and they do a great job. And this Drumeo website definitely does it. But as they lead you through, everything that you do is a wow. There's a wow moment. You know, there's a forehead slap. There's a, oh man. And you just want to stay with it to see what the next revelation will be. All right, so we're not going to have time for questions, but Todd has been kind enough to let me tell you about one thing that I am doing. This isn't going to be a big, heavy pitch or anything, but I just want to let you know it's available. I'm doing a 2-day intensive in Baltimore in March 7th and 8th, called Writing for the Financial Markets. And this is the website you can go to. Basically, this is not a seminar. There will be 4 pre-event workshops, webinars, okay? The first one, I'll present you with your assignment, which is a copy platform, okay? The second one is on Finance 101. We find there are a lot of great health writers out there that don't know anything about investment. And in fact, we did an event in Charleston for some of the top health writers in the country this year. And to get them to do their first financial promo. But anyways, so we'll have a webinar on that. So you understand the basics of how investment markets work, the various kinds of instruments and so forth. Then research secrets, how to properly research. What websites do you go to? Okay? Where do you go to get the answers that you need beyond Google? And then advanced copywriting secrets. Then at the actual event in Baltimore, Mike Ward, who's the head of Money Map Press, is going to be one of our presenters. Now, Mike started Money Map 6 years ago, and they do over $200 million a year now. I don't know if there's ever been another Gore division that grew that fast, that quick, maybe Stansberry. But I mean, it's just phenomenal growth, phenomenal growth. And Mike has agreed to be one of our presenters. Jed Candy will be there. And Jed's primary role is going to be critiquing your copy. Henry Bingaman will be there, author of many of Money Map's hottest promotions. Terry Weiss, or Weiss. Sometimes it's Weiss, sometimes it's Weiss. But Terry is also one of the copy chiefs, and I'll be there too. I'll be presenting. Jed, Henry, Terry, and I are the 4 copy chiefs at Money Map. And then you're going to be actually writing a promotion as part of this. And so if after all of this is done, and we have the 3 post-event webinars, which will be copy critiques by me, and also any Q&A. Just ask me anything, and I'll be on there as long as you want, 2-3 hours if we have to. Okay. Then you submit your copy when you think you're ready, and you could win a $12,000, $500 assignment that pays royalties. And so that's the way it works. There's limited enrollment. There'll be 50 copywriters there. And so there's your, if you want to check it out, there's the URL for you. So that's what I got. Thanks a lot.
Woo! Show Clayton your love. Thank you, Clayton, for coming out. Who got some great wisdom?